The real start.
Good morning.
Third take's always the best.
Third take is always the best take. We're live. Welcome to Work Hard. I'm your host, Ethan.
And I'm your co-host, Jason.
Jason, you said you have a story for me.
Yeah, I got a story. We were reminiscing, my wife and I, last night, as you do.
Yeah.
And she was reminding me of a Facebook Marketplace encounter that she had. We just moved into our house here. We set up our old bed, and it's a little high, and we're uncomfortable with having the daughter on it necessarily without being highly supervised. And we had those rails on the bed, like removable rails that you put on so your kid doesn't fall off your normal-sized bed.
Yeah.
My wife had gone out and picked those up on Facebook Marketplace, and she got there. Her dad drove her because I was at work. And so he was waiting in the car, and she gets out, and it's a duplex that's not labeled on either side. And so she just guesses as to the side and knocks on the door, and this guy opens it who seems, I don't know if he was high on weed or just sleepy or whatever, but it's just had a little girl with him. And she goes, "Oh, I'm here to pick up the those, the bed side things."
Yeah.
And he's like, looks a little confused. He's like, "Oh, okay. All right." And then he goes into the back room, and she hears him bonking around and messing around in the bedroom, disassembling something, and comes out with them. And she's like, "Okay," gives him the money and starts to walk away. And then a man from the other side of the duplex comes out with the exact same one and goes, "Are you here to pick up the are you here to pick up the bed rails?" And she's like, by the time the other guy's gone inside and he's not there anymore, and she's like, "Oh, I just bought them from that guy." And he's like, "What? No." He's like, "That's my tenant." And she's like, "Oh, well, I already gave him the money for it." And then this guy, instead of going, "Well, let's just go and return them," he just like storms back into his duplex side and like closes the door. And my wife's like,
I don't know.
and got back in the car, and her dad's like, "What was that about?" They leave. So we bought them from the wrong dude.
That's
It was
awesome.
the exact same pair.
That's
the
awesome.
exact same set.
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
What are the odds? And what are the odds the guy's so dumb?
That he's like, "My girlfriend must have posted them."
Or something, yeah.
Which made me think that a great YouTube prank channel would be knocking on random people's doors and telling them you're here to buy a certain item.
Yeah.
"I'm here for the armchair.
Yeah.
I'm here for the set of dining room chairs. I'm here for the silverware
Just see
that
what
you
they sell
posted on
you.
Facebook Marketplace." And then just be like, "Oh, well, I don't know who it was. I can't remember the name on the account. You have like a girlfriend or a wife or something who may have posted them," and just see what you can buy, and for a ridiculously low price, perhaps.
Yeah. Just get some husband just so
confused.
For $50?
Yeah, exactly. "I'm gonna kill her." And yeah, "Well, okay, bro. Here's the camera. Thanks for being a good sport. Here's $100."
That would be fun.
That would be so. That might be a fantastic prank channel for
Yeah.
anybody out there.
That's an idea. That's an idea.
Can you believe
That's
that?
so funny, dude. Dude.
I couldn't. I forgot about the story she told me, and it was like hearing it again new.
That's great.
Amazing.
That's so funny, dude. Dude, weed is a scourge. People who smoke pot are so retarded. Why is it, dude? Oh my god.
It may or may not have been weed. She just said he seemed kind of disheveled, and could have also been a parent who'd been kept up all night or works night shift or something too.
I'm sure
Should be
it was
fair
weed.
to the guy.
Yeah, maybe.
It's
But
probably
dude,
weed.
Everybody smokes
Living
weed.
in a duplex in Oregon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. Well, crazy times, dude. That's funny.
Yeah.
Let me make sure that I do not want this wire crossing a power wire.
Oh, don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams, especially when one of the streams has audio going through it and the other one has electricity.
Sponsored by Frozen Empire.
Frozen Empire.
That's the new Ghostbuster movie that they're promoting heavily.
Oh, okay.
That I've heard
one
is
with
not so good.
Paul Rudd in it?
They have all of them. They have like the old guys and the new guys.
Oh,
they brought
okay.
everybody together. So there's so many characters they can't do proper screen time for anybody, is what I've heard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The whole old crew looking ancient.
Yes.
Bill Murray just looking,
Who's the man? Bill Murray's the man.
yes, but also looking like a
Mega
walking
old.
zombie almost now.
Yeah, yeah. All right. The topic of discussion for today.
What is it, Ethan?
the topic of discussion for today, I was going to say is because I did listen to the Doug Wilson.
You did?
I did. I listened to it.
I realized as I was texting you that I only got the short version. I got the first 17 minutes of it.
Oh, it's on Spotify, the whole thing.
Yes, but I was using my boss's phone to listen on YouTube, which I do on incognito so I don't mess up his history and like start getting him a bunch of videos that he doesn't care to watch.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can't very well try to log into Spotify on his phone.
Right.
So I was like, if I can't do it background, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the first 17 minutes were really good.
First 17 minutes are really good. The interview's really good.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Tucker Carlson fan. I don't know.
I haven't watched any of his stuff since like blips on Fox here and there would pop up.
Yeah,
so I'm not a huge fan, but I also have liked a number of the things you've said. So
he says a lot of good
probably
stuff.
wouldn't disagree with most of his stuff.
Yeah, he says a lot of good stuff, and I think he's on our side. I can't really tell. I think his dad was in the CIA, which doesn't necessarily mean he's not on our side. Like he might be an elite, but
Right.
he might be a member of the elite who's dissatisfied with his particular position, and so he wants to upend them, which is fine. I mean, we're going to need those guys in order to get this, turn this ship around. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. In his Joe Rogan interview, he was on Joe Rogan.
Was he? Okay.
A couple weeks ago or last week or something like that. And I didn't listen to the whole thing. But the parts I listened to probably like 15 or 20 minutes. The part that I did listen to, I was like very
Not 3 hours.
Yeah. No.
So you listened to a very small percentage of a Rogan. I was like, wow, you listened to a whole Rogan interview?
No.
Who has time for that?
Who has time for that, dude? I've listened to very few whole Rogan interviews.
Probably nobody does.
Back when my commute was to and from a round trip 4 hours.
Yeah.
I used to listen to full episodes of Joe Rogan all the time.
Sure, that would make sense. Yeah, I'd burn. Yeah.
His Joe Rogan interview, Tucker's, I was not impressed with. He doesn't seem to understand, which, I mean, this is kind of an extension to almost everybody these days. He doesn't seem to understand how progressive technological progress works. He seems to believe you can uninvent things, which is just not. I mean, you need.
You mean like go back and say we're no longer going to use this technology?
Yeah, we're just not going to use this. Yeah, he was talking about AI, and he was saying we should smuggle this thing in its grave, or smuggle this. What am I trying to say? Strangle it in its crib. Thank you. Not smuggle it in its grave.
Early. Smuggle it into the grave early.
Yeah.
Get it in there.
Yeah.
Keep it there.
That is what I meant.
Han Solo that stuff.
Mm-hmm. He was saying that you can't, or that we should, whatever. I mean, a part of it is people really seem to think that AI, we've already talked about this. People think AI is a much bigger deal than it really is. They have no concept that it's just a calculator. It's not alive. It's not going to be alive.
I get really tired of hearing about AI, honestly.
Yeah. It's the bubble.
At least when
pop.
it first, like in the last 9 months.
Yeah.
Got really tired of hearing about AI.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, "Is AI?"
Yeah. All technology has an S-curve adoption, which means that it gets invented, and the amount that people talk about it, use it, try to deploy it in real time goes up tremendously, and then it drops off tremendously and bottoms out, and then it'll go back up. So it makes an S in its adoption. And we are currently at the top of the front end of the S.
So where everyone's excited about it.
Everybody's excited about it. Yeah, but it has no real.
I tried AI generated art briefly.
It's fun. Did you?
I didn't use a good one.
Okay.
It was not working well, and so I went back to a better version.
Yeah.
Which I had to log into and couldn't because of reception or some other issue. No, I didn't know my password. I didn't have my booklet of passwords with me. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to bed.
Booklet of passwords. You are 70 years old. No, I don't have a booklet of passwords.
How do you remember them all? Are they all the same?
I have a password lockbox, like a digital password lockbox.
Yeah.
So I remember one password in my head, and that is encrypted, and it just autofills all my passwords on everything I use. And it's just locked up in encryption. Mm-hmm. That's what I use.
Yeah.
Because
you want to pay for technologies.
It's free.
Is it?
Yeah.
So
it's super simple software.
Well, my notebook was probably like $1. So my technology is more expensive than yours?
Yes.
And more outdated?
Yes.
Doggone it.
Yeah. Less efficient and more expensive, which I guess is just that.
But also
that is
entirely off the computer in the first place.
This might
Which
as
I
well
know
be
you-
off the computer.
Yes, I know. Da, 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 da,
Dude,
da,
I wish
with
you guys could.
encryption.
I wish you guys could have just seen the eye roll, dude. That was.
Like, I knew he was going to go there. Well, this might as well be. It's pretty much the same thing.
That's good, dude. That's
It's the
funny.
equivalent
That's
of having
content.
like a 3,000-pound safe cemented into your floor to where you're like, it might as well not be in my house because you can't get into it.
No,
you
not
can't remove it.
not even that, because it's like you could get something strong enough to rip that out of the ground and then or cut it open.
Mm-hmm.
But with encryption, it's just you can't. And if it's encrypted end to end and it's yours, so it's like stored on your hard drive, it's not stored in the cloud or on this company's servers, then it's not at this time it is not possible to break encryption.
I just don't know enough
Yeah, that's
to
what
make
you don't
use
have
of
to-
it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a notebook works just fine.
Notebooks.
Yeah.
Oh, does it?
Well, in reality, yeah. When we stop joking
For
about it, yeah,
70-year-old people?
yeah. When we're not.
I am only halfway there. Okay, I'll have you know. So I'm ahead of my time.
You are ahead of your time. That's a good way to look at it. You're
I'm
ahead of your
my
time. You're ahead of your time.
Using notebooks way before I need to.
Yeah, there you go. So Tucker Carlson, just talking about. I don't know. He just displayed a lack of understanding about markets and technology that I think is just. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of hearing people be
Alarmist?
alarmist and also just not understand how anything works. That's just annoying. Like you just to think that whatever, it doesn't matter. The thing I wanted to talk about was Doug Wilson's interview, not Tucker Carlson.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Hey, we almost made our time. You wanted to start real talk at about 10 minutes. We're at 11:50.
Boom, baby. We're gonna try
Pretty
to
close. Pretty close.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have noticed yet, any listeners. I like to jibber jabber, and so I've asked Jason to hold me accountable to not jibber jabber for more than 10 minutes on the front end of the podcast. The Doug Wilson thing. The thing that's important about that interview, or there's a lot of stuff that's important about that interview, but I think the thing that got my noggin jogging, the thing I wanted to talk about today was Tucker asked Wilson about solutions to the problems that we face today.
Okay.
Doug Wilson said he does not view there being a political solution to our political issues, to our cultural issues. I agree with that.
Right.
I don't know if you guys have been able to pick this up yet. I don't want to speak for Jason, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Jason and I are big Doug Wilson guys. So a lot of the things, sometimes I personally have to check myself. When Doug Wilson says something, I have to be like, all right, I have to still put this through a filter of like, is it true? Is it not true? Whatever. I can't just be like, Doug Wilson said it, so obviously it's true. Like it's the law. But I think that's true. I think we're well past a political solution to our problems. And then Wilson spoke specifically about preachers and what they can do to revitalize the country and bring in revival. And so that's well and good, but this is not a show for preachers, so that's not the solution I'm interested in. What I wanted to talk about today was what rank and file guys can do themselves to affect change or otherwise make things better. And I think the thesis that I'm going to put forward, and we can hear your thoughts about it, is that the thing that you can do is, and it sounds, I think that the reason why people don't say this often is because it's hard to sell anything based off of this idea. And it's also not really, it's just hard to sell. So you can't make a grift out of this, which is because there's nothing to sell, which is that the only thing you can do is live your life honestly and earnestly and pay attention to your surroundings, and in every instance you get a chance to do so, choose to do the right thing. So what I'm saying is personal responsibility is the only thing that you can do.
And voting with your dollars in a way?
Yeah, voting with your dollars. Yeah, voting with your dollars. And if you want to say, like, yes, you can go vote, whatever. But again, I don't think there's a political solution to this problem. I think it's going to take, if you think about armor, like chainmail, it's going to take hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of church-going Christian men,
The little metal links.
the little metal links, to conduct their lives in a way that is in congruence with the way God would have us conduct ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you can do. And if you have the point that I want to the argument I would make for that is that the mechanisms of power, got people at the levers of the social order that are controlling things, they're so far removed from you, from us, from the individual, that there is no, like, you might get lucky or you might get unlucky, I would say, and be thrust into the middle of this thing and have some decision-making capacity that is like decides greatly which direction we head in. You might be one of those people, but the probability that that's really the case is very low.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, the only thing you're going to have control over is whether or not you lie to your boss, whether or not you take your kids to church on Sunday.
And also, if you're not training for that possible position in your everyday life, you're going to do a terrible job if you're put in that position.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we don't have robust Christian moral communities, then who are we going to pick the leaders from?
Right, certainly. And if you won't...
You're going to get more pond scum.
Yeah, more pond scum. And if you're given an opportunity to do something big, but you don't have the bravery to do the right thing with the little stuff...
You're sure gonna freeze.
Yeah, why would you assume that you're gonna have the bravery to do the right thing with something big?
Right.
So if you're fine to lie to your wife because you don't want her to get mad at you because you did whatever, you bought something you ought not have bought or whatever, like something like that, then what makes you think that
you can lead people who are going to get really angry at you?
Right. Yeah. How are you going to stand up to people, say the right thing, do whatever? Maybe you're a software developer listening to this and your company ends up working on some technology that will further increase government's capacity to surveil people. And you have the chance to say something in a meeting and say the right thing and say, this is wrong, we ought not do this or whatever. And then why would you think, if you don't have the bravery to stand up to telling your neighbor the truth about who backed into his car, if you don't have the bravery to do that, why do you think you would have the bravery to stand up at a meeting? That's where you're going to draw the line?
Or you might get fired.
Yeah, or you might lose your job.
Yeah, if you continue to back off until the very last moment.
Right.
And that's not to say there are not hills to die on.
Certainly.
So it's difficult to know when that is.
Yeah.
You don't want to go ballistic over the little stuff. Say, I'm drawing the line here and I'm going to just nuke everything if I don't get my way.
Yeah.
There's no concessions I'll take.
Yeah.
That's maybe too far, depending on what the issue is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But if you don't at least get in the habit of voicing it and being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I had, I don't do it much anymore, but I used to post on Facebook about abortion, ask questions, and got in some pretty big debates and had some pretty angry friends.
Yeah.
In big quotes, Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Who really were more acquaintances, and then, I got unfriended at least a couple times that I was aware of.
Yeah.
Which was very uncomfortable for me.
Sure.
Because I am not necessarily a confrontational person. I didn't enjoy the confrontation.
Yeah.
That wasn't why I was doing it, but I felt convicted that it was something I could say and that I should say it.
Yeah. And
it was so stressful and so consuming. Once I posted something, I knew that the next 48 hours was going to be me agonizing over and obsessing over how to respond to everyone who was just lighting it up on that post.
Yeah.
And to the point where Emily was like, please don't post like that, because then you're just not here in the evenings. You're so busy,
right.
And at work, I would just be thinking about it, or fearing, checking the notifications, being like, oh golly, did someone respond? Did they not respond? Worrying about what people
They're
thought
mad
of
at
me.
you know,
Yeah, how mad they were.
Yeah.
We're going to say something to hurt my feelings.
Yeah, certainly.
Somebody, yeah, some gal who I hadn't talked to probably in a decade that I went to church with as a kid, like, cursed at me on a comment and abruptly unfollowed and blocked me.
Oh, nice.
I was like, okay.
All right, lady, I get it. You want to murder your children.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Someone's had an abortion and feels guilty about it.
Yep.
That's what that tells me.
Yep.
But won't fess up that it was actually wrong.
Right, exactly.
You're not dealing with the guilt. You're just
burying it
and insisting that everybody who calls you out on it
instead validates your...
Exactly. You're insisting on everybody around you validating it, or you'll cut them off.
Right.
Instead of actually allowing your conscience to be pricked in the way it needs to be pricked, so you can seek forgiveness.
Yeah.
And move on from that.
Yeah. I don't know how you can move. That's a tough one. I mean, I know you can, and I know. Listen, Jeffrey Dahmer's probably in heaven. Have you seen those interviews?
No.
Where Jeffrey Dahmer professes Christ.
Really?
And like takes total responsibility. And people are like, well, do you think that you killed those people because of your parents or whatever? And he was like, no. It is my fault. I did it. I'm responsible for it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jeffrey Dahmer's probably in glory. We're probably going to see Jeffrey Dahmer. So, I mean, obviously, you know, God forgives all and everything. But I personally,
look at Paul, who was Saul.
Yeah.
Persecuting other Christians.
Yeah.
Putting them in jail. Was there for the stoning and execution of one while he held the coats and looked on and was like, yep.
Nice.
This is good.
Yep.
Well done, fellow zealots.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is important, and I'll reference to something we talked about a few months ago, which was the attention. So where you're looking. I don't know if you remember this, but I talked about the subatomic particles and how they're in a state of chaos unless something's observing them.
Oh, okay.
And they're organized.
Yes.
And I was just reading in Matthew, I was reading the Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus was talking about your eyes being light, and if you have darkness in your eyes, you'll have darkness in your body and darkness in your life. That actually kind of fits poorly into what I was going to say, but whatever. Anyways, the point that I'm ultimately trying to make is that I'll kind of briefly run through the subatomic particles thing again, which is my theory is that because God is an observer, and we are made in the image of God, we are little observers, and that is one of our primary functions as humans is to observe. But I do not think that observation, I don't mean that in the Western sort of passive way. I mean that in the ancient Hebrew, very active way. So looking and seeing is a projection. It's not you're not taking something in, you're projecting out when you look. And so when you are looking away from your life will become chaotic. But if you are looking at your life, then your life will become ordered. You will do the thing. If you're paying attention to your family, you're paying attention to your home, you will do the maintenance on your house that needs to be done for it to stay in order. You will be active with your children. You will train them up in the ways of the Christian faith, and you'll make sure they're getting to church. If you're paying attention to those aspects of your life, then those aspects of your life will be ordered. If you're paying attention to something else, then that thing will be ordered. And the entire media apparatus, social media, alternative media, even to a certain extent, this podcast, it is all demanding your attention, and your attention is finite. You are not omnipresent. You are not God. You are finite.
Not by a long shot.
Right.
I can't pay attention to two things at once.
Exactly. So when you are giving your attention to something like this, or giving your attention to Fox News or to Joe Rogan or to the Young Turks or whatever, when you're giving your attention, the whatever podcast, when you're giving your attention to those things, it's removing attention from your life. And you can't actually affect the greater world. Like the world that's being referenced by Ben Shapiro or Tucker Carlson, like whoever, the world that they're talking about is a world you cannot affect with your attention. And so you are actually taking all of this valuable human observation, removing it from a human life and adding it to you're just throwing it in a bottomless pit. You're just wasting it. You're just throwing it away. All of that time, all of that energy is going away. So the thing that you must do is put down your phone. Put down your phone and look at your life. Jason has a flip phone. My iPhone is locked to the password that my wife has, and it's the only things that are on it are the ability to text, use GPS, send emails. That's it. That's all it's on my phone.
You will. I remember just feeling anxious, and I didn't know why. Back when I was a paramedic, and there was a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Days that weren't. I mean, there were days that were busy and we really were moving all the time.
Yeah.
But there's also one person driving, and sometimes you're just driving around. So if you weren't the one driving, I was able to watch full movies sometimes during the day.
Yeah.
Or just endless YouTube and Facebook scrolling.
Right.
And I couldn't figure out, or stupid little mobile games, you know, play for 3 days and get tired of it and find a new one.
Yeah.
But I was anxious on those days, and I couldn't figure out why necessarily.
Yeah.
Didn't feel anxious if I read a book during that same amount of time.
Sure.
Completely different feeling.
Right.
Felt like I accomplished something and like I learned something.
Yeah.
And I improved my knowledge base.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get rid of my smartphone even while I was there, but we had to use it you had to map and everything, so it was really difficult to have a flip phone. I did briefly have one, like a slider phone, one of those little slide open with a keyboard
like
phones.
A Sidekick? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. My eldest ended up killing like 3 phones in the wiped out both of ours and something else and a laptop. She was real hard on the electronics. Anyway, but I had a GPS. I had a Garmin GPS that I fumbled along with at work for a while, using just that for my navigation just to get by.
Yeah.
There was like one other older dude in the company who used the same kind of thing. And I was like, it's possible.
Yeah, you could do it.
It's slower.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard to kick it. And he talks about this in the Benedict option too. Rod Dreher does in the Benedict option about how addicted we are.
Yeah.
And how anytime that we're alone or there's a lull in conversation, you kind of just automatically reach for your pocket to check your phone.
Yeah.
Has anyone texted me? Any emails?
Yeah.
Do I, maybe scroll down a little bit, watch a video?
Right.
Look at memes, entertain myself, distract myself.
Yeah.
It leaves very little time for contemplation and meditation and reflection, prayer.
Yep.
Those quiet moments. And this goes for me too. Like I get very distracted, or if I'm in the car, it's easy to just turn the radio on and just veg, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, those moments in the car can be critical. Like I often drive with nothing.
Yeah.
No music, no nothing. I just sit and think. Those are really important. And that also, like, if you are not paying attention to your inner self, it will become disordered. And so meditation, anywhere you can get it, is very important. And I think, driving is a really, really, really practical, very good place. Just try it out. Just drive for 10 minutes without playing anything. Just sit in the car silently. And you'll probably get a little anxious at first, but if you just chill, you're just the attention. One of the things that, I don't know if this is like like an actual principle in psychology, but anecdotally, from my own experience and from the experience I've heard from others, if you have some sort of pathological issue, something you just can't get over, you keep doing it, whatever, and then you go talk about it, even just realizing something in your past occurred to you and you remembered it oh yeah, that happened to me, and that's and I got this message from that, and now I'm doing this to try to fulfill that message or fill the hole that gave me, whatever. Even just realizing that sometimes, quite often, will fix the problem. Like there's no alternative thought you need to go through. There's no clinical practice you have to apply to that issue. Just knowing, oh yeah, like when I was young, I lived in an overly sexualized world, and I was around Victoria's Secret's ads and women in underwear in movies and sex scenes and all this stuff when I was little. My parents just were not good about guarding that from me. And so now I'm addicted to porn at 22 or whatever. Even sometimes just realizing that's connecting those two dots is enough to fix the problem, because deep, deep, deep in your subconscious mind, some sort of synapsal connection is being recreated that you don't even realize is occurring.
Right.
But if you weren't sitting there quietly meditating,
you're more instinctively seeking it out.
Right.
To scratch that itch there.
Sure.
To feel fulfilled. The same as you would reaching your phone just to be like scrolling, to be distracted.
Right.
Because you're like, no, I can't be alone with my thoughts. That's
scary.
I'm not used to that.
Right.
That's uncomfortable simply because I've not done it.
Right. So,
which has got to be so much harder for the Zoomers who grew up with the smartphone.
It is. It's very hard.
Smartphones didn't come around until I was... Do you even know what the year was? When was the first smartphone around?
Smartphones were around by the time they were already here.
I was employed... It would have been at least like 2013-ish, maybe, by some early smartphones.
I think it was earlier than that.
Was it?
Yeah, because I was in...
Maybe 2013 is about when I got my first really crummy smartphone.
Okay.
That wasn't the first ones, but it was... So maybe the early 2010s? Somewhere in there?
I don't know. I think
maybe.
the first smartphones...
Okay.
Not the first touchscreen phones, but the first full-on smartphones.
Oh, I'm talking like touchscreen phones.
Okay. Well, the first phones that had access to the internet and that you could look at social media and stuff on.
Gotcha.
Those existed by the time I was Annabelle's age.
Okay.
So
I'm thinking the touchscreen ones where they got really easy to use and quick and fast, where you'd have
the first iPhone came out when I was 11.
Was it? Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, I was still very, very low double-digit numbers in age.
Okay.
Because I remember being really obsessed with figuring out whether or not you could play RuneScape on it.
Oh, RuneScape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun game.
Yeah. And you can play RuneScape. You can download RuneScape now on your phone.
Yeah?
Off the App Store.
Yeah.
That's a problem, brother.
That is a problem.
Yeah. There was a time...
I never got past those first 4 imps that you had to catch.
Oh, really? Dude, I
did not spend that much time on that game.
I lost myself in that game twice. Once as a little kid, and then second in college, I
went full born to Skyrim, so like its grandchild.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would, yeah. I think that our internet access was not good enough for me to get lost in that game.
Yeah,
when it was around when I was that age.
Things were already humming. By the time I was old enough to play RuneScape, the internet infrastructure was already there. We were past dial. Everything was going. So it was. I got hit. So yes,
my childhood was the dial-up days.
I've never heard the dial-up sound organically.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I've heard it. A meme almost.
Yeah. I've heard it, like people doing it, like replicating it. I've heard it.
I remember
played,
doing
whatever.
it.
Yeah. I never turned on a computer.
I'm old enough.
Yeah.
I can finally say I'm old.
Back in my day.
My day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is hard for Zoomers. I can't attest to that personally. But it is what it is, man. You got to do it. And the thing that I think is important is that I really want people to stop paying attention to, like, the only reason I have a Twitter account is to tell people to delete their Twitter accounts. Like, dude, you really gotta, you really got
off of there.
Unplug. Yeah, from the news stream. If it and maybe you can stay plugged in if you want, but you got to figure out.
Twitter might be more useful than Instagram.
Maybe, but it's also, I think, it may be more detrimental, because at least with Instagram, you're paying attention to your friends and family.
See, I always thought like there's always some lewd thing popping up in the.
You can if you're honest with yourself, you can curate your feed so that it doesn't do that.
They don't
like
suggest things to you still?
When I go on Instagram, on my Discover page, it's UFC, off-road vehicles, and steak. That's literally the only thing that's on my Discover feed, because I
Yeah.
went through, and every time I saw a girl at all, not
Okay.
even a lewd girl, I pressed the not interested button. Like,
Oh,
do not show
okay.
me this again.
Gotcha.
And so it just, now it's like,
Very
I don't think
aggressive and
women,
active about.
yeah,
I don't want
yeah,
women on this page at all.
yeah,
Man cave, get out.
yeah. And so it, Instagram, I think, can be better, because at least your main feed is
Supposed to be
supposed to be
family and
your
friends.
pictures of your family and
right,
friends.
because it's kind of the replacement for Facebook. It's the Zoomer Facebook.
Yeah, I would say so. But
No.
Twitter is just a news source, and that's really kind of what Elon Musk wants X to be. Twitter and X are the same thing now, but
Right.
Elon Musk really wants X to be a news source first. And the problem with the news is that it doesn't matter. That's the problem with the news, is that it doesn't matter. If you didn't know that Israel shot rockets at Iran, it wouldn't change your life one iota.
No, it just gives you anxiety about things you can't change.
Right, exactly. And so you should just not pay attention to it, and use that attention that you have otherwise to do your laundry, find a girlfriend,
We
get your
should
haircut.
strangle this thing in the crib.
We
This
should
internet
strangle
is
this
a
thing in
bad
the crib.
idea.
We should smuggle this thing to the grave.
We should
Yeah,
lock it up.
yeah,
Throw away that key.
yeah. And I think there are like
Encrypt that key.
encrypt that key, baby, encrypt it.
Oh wait, but then we'd be encrypting it inside of a thing that is itself.
A key. Yeah. Hey, one thing, fun fact.
I'm twisting myself in mental imagination circles here.
I thought about this the other day, and I thought you'd be interested to hear this. And I forgot to
Probably.
mention this on the technology episode,
Okay.
but it's just an anecdotal, fun little fact. When you put data, any information at all, pictures, text documents, video games, whatever,
Yeah.
on a hard drive, the hard drive gets physically heavier
Okay.
because it is matter, it is stuff.
Okay.
So it is still in the real world to some degree. It's not
I've heard the entire weight of the internet is like approximate to a strawberry or something.
probably
I've
something
seen
like that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like a couple grams.
All the data.
All the data, yeah. So you really do want to be paying attention to your own life, and I think
So you're just creating data? Are you creating weight out of nowhere?
no, it's matter.
No, I mean, but where does it get pulled from? Because you can't create new matter, is my understanding.
Right.
If I remember anything from
Yeah.
grade
Matter
school
cannot
science.
be created or destroyed. Yeah.
It just gets, so if you take a video game on
Mhm.
a PC disc,
Right,
okay,
right.
a CD, and you put it in your computer that has
Yeah.
a CD slot,
Yeah.
which I know yours doesn't,
Right.
but they used to.
They used
I don't know
to.
if you know that.
I was around for I had one computer when I was very little that had a CD slot,
Okay,
and then they all disappeared.
yeah, I remember our first one had it. There was a slot for the floppy disks
Yeah.
back when I was a kid. I remember
Right.
That was a thing.
Yeah. My grandfather had floppy disks.
Where are we going? Anyway, the CD. You load your video games, or you put it on your hard drive.
Mhm.
Does that mean that the computer is somehow pulling matter out of the CD
I have no idea.
into the? Okay,
I have no idea. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know how that works. That's beyond me.
you gave me information that led to more questions.
The question
I didn't
don't
need
have
to
an
know
answer
that.
for. Yeah, I don't know. Look it up. I don't know. Somebody Google it. Email us. Hyperpremium@protonmail.com.
I'm sure that's what they'll choose to share
Email
with
us
us.
about. Yeah, they'll probably email us some sort of schizophrenic. Dude, I would
Rambling.
imagine the first like couple
Interactions we get are going to be pretty wild.
Yeah. The first, because I've made several attempts at having like an internet persona before, and the second or third one was a little bit more successful than any other one has been, and it was just schizophrenic guys.
Yeah.
Like that was the first wave of like people that
That's
you
what
get.
we attract.
Yeah, like the first wave of people that you get to pay attention to you that like feed the algorithm. Like, oh, this is somebody who's paying attention. Maybe we should show them to more people. Those guys are always like schizophrenic. They're always the weirdest. Like they send you the strangest messages.
Is it just because they're the ones listening to stuff that's not popular?
it's
There's
got to
no
be
reason anyone else would click on it. And they're
Yeah.
like, maybe this one.
Yeah, their mind is like so fractured that the algorithm can't figure out what they actually want.
Like, what do you want? This?
Yeah, is it just throwing stuff at them?
Yeah. Try work hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're confusing the living daylights out of me.
Yeah.
And they're like, I love it.
I love it. I'm going to email these guys 7 times a day.
We all love it.
for 8 weeks. Yeah.
All 3 of us in here love it.
Yeah. You have 3 listeners in one, dude. And I'm going to tell you about all of them. I'm going to email you. Yeah. So just pay attention to your life, I think, is the ultimate. Like, what can you do about today's problems? Largely nothing. So what?
Except building generational wisdom
if
and wealth to actually affect change in the long-term future by changing the culture.
Right, by changing the culture.
By being yeast and leaven.
Yeah.
A little leaven leavens the whole lump. If anyone doesn't know what leaven is, it's what they used before yeast, I believe. Yep. My wife is more the baker. She'd explain this a lot better than I have. Yours is too.
Yes.
But leaven was something you put into bread and make bread rise, and you'd only use a teeny tiny bit, and it would leaven the whole lump of bread. So it doesn't take that much to spread. Just like the gospel is a small thing, an easy thing to tell someone. Not easy to talk about necessarily, but easy in theory because it's simple.
Right.
That Christ died for us in place of our sins because we all have sinned against God and we are we cannot be justified on our own actions. So we need someone to take our place and pay for the punishment, pay for the tab that we run up daily. And if it didn't, we'd all just be going to hell.
Right. We'd all be dying. So one of the things that Wilson mentions in that interview is that we really can't shove our worldview down other people's throats. That's what the left tried to do, and it bit them in the butt, and it's over for them. I mean, the thing you have to understand right now is that we are watching the death throes of this thing. We are not watching it come to power. We are watching it panic as it dies. And the
it knows it's bleeding out.
Yeah, it knows it's bleeding out. It's a cat who's been shot. It is
I have not heard that one.
That's the one thing I can put, because very recently I had to shoot a stray cat in the head with a .22.
Oh, okay.
And it spazzed when I shot it, but I hit it clean in the head. Like,
okay,
it was just its death throes.
Yeah.
But
chickens convulse like nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, killing animals sometimes is a little weird, but you got
it's very weird. Yeah.
You got to get it done. What was I saying? Wow, I totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry. You're shooting cats.
Yeah, shooting cats. Oh yeah, we're watching this thing die, and one of the reasons why it died is because they took the Saul Alinsky rules for being radical strategy, and without trying to change anybody's minds, they passed Obergefell.
Did they skip a step?
Yeah, they skipped a lot of steps, man. They didn't change anybody's minds. And people, I think, largely identify, and you might say, oh, they changed a ton of people's minds. Hookup culture is rampant, whatever. Yes, things are secular. They did win in that way. The culture has been moved in their direction. But these people hate being. They hate their own body.
Existence.
They hate existence. And they didn't convince anybody to hate existence with them. People drew the lines at their kids, which we always knew they were going to do. Normal people drew the lines at their kids. They won't let you touch their kids. That's where people generally draw the line.
A lot of people were bullied into it. A lot of parents are weak, though.
A lot of parents are weak, but
So that's where you need to be different, listener.
Right, but ape apart, weak, ape together, strong. Like the
community.
Yeah, community. You get. I mean, how many videos?
A bundle of 3 branches is not easily broken.
Right, and how many videos did you see in COVID or whatever of parents at
is it meetings?
Meetings or school
Yelling
meetings,
at
whatever,
the school
screaming at stuff, punching cops in the head. Just a white guy, just a dad, like wrestling cops. You know, like I saw 4 of those.
Really? Oh, I didn't see any of those.
Oh yeah, dude. Like dads coming in being like, "You will not put a man with a penis in the little girl's bathroom. I will not stand for this." And the cops being like, "You're being transphobic. You have to go." And then him being like, "I bet I'm not." and like I saw several of those videos.
He's like, "Stop making up words."
Yeah. And the thing that they have to do is display a show of force to get those guys out of the way, and everybody sees that. There's a book called Shogun. It was just recently made into a show. The show's really good.
Heard about it.
It's really good. The in the book and in the show, one of the main characters forces the ruling powers that be to show their hand. Or let her I'm trying not to ruin it. Let her strategy play out. So she puts them in the situation where they have to either show force and display to everyone that they are now in a totalitarian government or whatever, or let her do her thing.
Gotcha.
And that is
She calls their bluff, or
she calls
if it's a bluff.
Yeah. And so they had to display force, and people didn't like it, and very uncomfortable. And COVID was a really big awakening for a lot of people. The point that I'm making is that we have to affect cultural change. This has to be a grassroots movement. It cannot be astroturfed like the left.
Fake men.
Yeah.
Fake women.
Fake men, fake women. It cannot be astroturfed like the left. And the only way that cultural change can occur is if there are people who bear that culture out, just like Jason said. And so if you want to affect change, if you want to right this ship, if you want a new life for America, if you want it to return to being a Christian country, which I don't really think, I think we're going to balkanize. I think we're going to break off and have to take the American South on to 1,000-year reign of golden era style life. But if you do want to try, which I think is a noble cause, and I think we ought to try to keep America, try to keep the Union together, try to save the Republic, and bring on a revitalization, the only thing you can do is live that culture out in your life, which means finding a wife, having as many children as you can. I don't have the ability right now to say have lots of children, because we've not had the ability to have lots of children. I have one daughter, and we're working on trying to get the next one out, but it's been challenging for us. But Jason can. Jason has 4 kids. He can say have lots of kids. I can say have as many as you possibly can.
Caveat to that is we always said that we never put a number on how many kids we wanted.
Yeah.
We always said we will have as many as God gives us ability and means to care for properly.
Yeah.
Because with each child you add, it is more difficult to give the proper attention to each one.
Yeah.
You only have so many hours in the day. You are finite, as we were talking about earlier. And so that's something my wife and I are dealing with now is, do we take a break? Do we head right into number 5?
Right.
Do we say, no, we're finished? And if so, how do we go about actually not having children?
Sure.
So there's, there's a lot of questions there.
Right.
Because we've been very busy with this house building, living in small quarters, and now an unfinished house, and we have chickens on property, and we've got sheep coming in, and so we're very busy.
Right.
And homeschooling is difficult.
Yeah.
And my wife is busy even without the homeschooling. Yeah. And so how many, is this as many as we can care for properly now? We don't know.
Yeah.
So we're praying about that actively. So that's why I'm saying don't have as many as I think you could reach a point of where you're doing more harm than good. If you have 16 children and none of them are loved, what are you creating? What are you bringing into the
problems.
world? You're creating a horrible next generation.
Right.
Of not abused necessarily, but neglected and unloved children.
Right.
So there is some limit out there.
Yeah.
I think you should have above the replacement limit if you can. I think we should be growing. So 3.
Yeah, 3.
3 minimum if you're able to.
Yeah.
But also some women have really, really hard pregnancies.
Yeah.
And so that's something to factor in. I will say on the What Have You podcast, not Rebecca Merkel, Rachel
Jankovic.
Jankovic. Yes, she has had horrible pregnancies, and they have They have like 7 children now or something.
Yeah, that's
so she.
brutal.
I say, factor that in, but at the same time, it's like we're here to sacrifice for our children. The woman sacrifices physically for her children.
Yeah.
Most women will never look the same after having a child, let alone
I think my
6
wife
or
looks
7.
better. I think.
You do?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I like the hips.
I'm just saying. Oh well, the hips for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the hips getting, dude. Hey, young men out there, you get a young woman pregnant, she gives birth, her hips get physically wider, and they stay that way. And boy, does it look nice. Just a hot tip for you guys out there.
Yeah. You think she looks good before?
Yeah, you think she looks good before. Wait till she looks voluptuous.
Oh, voluptuous is a delicious word
That is
for your wife.
Yes. Yes.
Love me a voluptuous wife.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. No, but your wife will not view it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter how you feel about your wife, she will probably not feel as happy about her post-pregnancy body as she does about her current one. So my point is that the woman is sacrificing, and she's also going through tons of hormonal changes and whatnot. Like her taste in food might change.
Right.
I don't know if your Emily has experienced that. I think my Emily has had variations in taste and other things.
Yeah, I think it was
Hair.
1 or 2 things.
I think Emily's hair is straighter now than it used to be, wavier,
Interesting.
which may or may not have to do some with childbearing.
Right.
Just hormonal changes that go on.
Yeah.
They don't go back to exactly the way you were, is my point.
Right.
So even if you are, able to drop all the baby weight and your wife looks really good
Yeah.
after the pregnancy, she's still going through a lot of physical changes during that time, rapid changes.
Yeah.
Like you're growing a lot and then shrinking back down. It's
Right.
like that puts wear and tear on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, and the man sacrifices for children, I think less physically. He sacrificed physically for work, I would say, but I think it's more, you have to sacrifice maybe more emotionally and spiritually. That's more the sacrifice.
You have to
Since
grow
your
up.
body's, you have to
You
grow
have
up.
to
Yes,
grow
that's
up.
a good way of putting it. Yes,
Yeah.
you have to be less of a child. You don't get to do everything you want to do because your time is so consumed with being a good father.
Right.
Because it's really, really hard to be a good father. It's easy to be a father,
Yeah.
breeding-wise.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
But it's really hard, and I'm learning that more and more.
Yeah. It is
Every child I
incredibly-
realize how much harder it is.
the thing I do, it is incredibly fulfilling. You will never ever ever do anything anywhere close to as worth being a good father, and you'll feel that the whole time. Like it's the thing that I told a lot of people when we I had a lot of young guys around me just from work and friends and stuff, and I was the first in our friend group to have a kid for all my fraternity brothers. And so there was a lot of questions coming from those guys. And the thing that I always
What's it like,
yeah,
bro?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. A lot of really cool fascination. But one of the things that I told them all the time that I felt is a good way to describe it is that you've never done anything more exhausting. You've never experienced anything that's more tiring, but you also have never felt more equipped to do something.
Just that it's... Oh, is this going back to the do hard things so that you will be more prepared for other hard things?
Yeah, I guess maybe a little bit, but what I'm saying is that...
I'm not afraid of anything else because this has been so challenging?
No, I'm saying that when Abigail was born, Emily and I were exhausted constantly. We were very tired, and it was our first kid, and we didn't know what to do. And... but there was never a point where I didn't feel totally equipped to handle it.
Really?
Yeah.
With your first child?
Yeah, the first time we had a kid, like, I never felt...
God's going to give you more children for sure.
I hope so. I hope so, man. I really, really hope so.
Well, there's so many stories of people out there who had long breaks and difficulties,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, just light switch.
Just
God's
start
like,
popping 'em out.
now you you were declared infertile by the doctors, and then it's like, oh, now we have twins on the way.
Yeah.
And we didn't do anything.
Dude, I hope so. Man, I really hope so. Pray about it all the time. Hey, anybody out there, that's a prayer you can pray for me. Pray that first of all, that I'm not shooting blanks for some reason now all of a sudden. But then also pray that Emily's good to go. Just pray for us.
Pray that it'll happen.
Yeah. So I like that I just always want to add that caveat. Like when we start talking about the difficulties of being a good father and of doing the right thing, I always want to make sure to also include the fact that it's worth doing and you will not regret it.
In the morning. Might regret it at night for fleeting moments.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never regretted it, ever. I've never had a moment.
Maybe regret's too strong a word, but immense tiredness and frustration.
Yeah.
And maybe feeling like that phase won't, not realizing when you're in the midst of it, that firefight's going to end at some point.
Yeah.
And when the bullets stop flying, you'll be like, oh, I'm still here.
Yeah.
You just think when you're in the middle of that, that's all that you know. That's how that's what I mean more. Not just like, why did I ever have kids?
Yeah.
That's not, I haven't felt that either. If I have, it's been in very brief and very emotionally immature moments.
Yeah.
Not a long-standing like, why did we ever do this? Clearly God didn't want us to do this.
Right.
We disobeyed God by getting pregnant.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean by regret.
Yeah.
And more of an emotionally immature thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have to grow up.
Yeah, you have to grow up. You have to grow up as a man. That, bringing that back around to the point of the episode, I think you do have to grow up as a man, and that requires that you pay attention to yourself, because you need to understand where your weaknesses are, what needs to happen. I have a really intense desire to have a good time.
Spoken like a true man.
Yeah. And
you don't think you're unique, do you?
I think my desire to have a good time
is stronger than some others. Like I really, really am like, Saturday boys, like let's go. Like gotcha.
And so
mine was more like, it's evening time. The kids better stay out of my way because I'm gonna have ice cream.
I mean, I want to have like anytime
like
anybody's
a big pool party.
Yeah,
like,
big pool party. Let's have fun. Right. Yeah. And
throw a few more shrimps on the bob.
Exactly. Yeah. People are like, okay, we've had lunch. Everybody's a little tired. We're gonna go home. I'm like, what? Go home? We're still having fun.
This is peak.
Yeah. I'm like, we're just getting started, dude.
Yeah.
It's not even.
It's warm up.
It's not even 8 p.m. Like, yeah.
Every other guy's like, we've had 2 loggers. We're good.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I bet you could have 10 more.
Their wife's like, I bet they couldn't.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
Yeah.
After 3, and it's not pretty.
Hey,
I'm far less attracted to them after 3.
After 3, yeah, they're quite obnoxious. I'll tell you this. I'll give the boys out there some good down home backcountry Southern wisdom that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And this is a truism, dude. This is so true. You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. That you got to live that. You got to know that in your head. You cannot drink all day if you don't start in the morning. You got to know that. That's an important piece of information.
But again, that's not what we're advocating, because you have to grow up.
I think it's okay. Yeah. I would not advocate to compromise the general sense of sobriety that you need in order to live out your life as the head of a household.
There it is.
But if it's a lake day and it's like your boys are coming in from out of town, you guys are going to hit the lake or whatever.
We're so much in build-in mode. I'm like, what?
Right.
Saturday that's not filled with tasks.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're not in that mode right now. God's got us tweeting our thumbs, making me be patient. He's got his thumb on me right now. So like there are like when I get done with this, I'm gonna go mow the lawn, but that's it.
You got a new mower?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got a new mower.
Ethan dropped off his busted mower.
Yep, for Jason.
Yeah.
Because Jason can fix it.
Maybe. or I'll just live with the part. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure you could just take the little lever,
Tab
and just,
off
yeah,
and
just like
shim
run a
it
piece
in.
of wire through it or something to like hold it in place.
I'm just gonna weld it in place.
I
don't know.
That's the kind of thing that it's like,
I'll have to look at
you
it
would
some more.
do, and I see something like that.
Putting wire
immediately.
through stuff?
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not going to get a wire. I don't even know where to get wire. Like,
I would have to find one of the 3 spools I've bought that I've barely used any of. That are hanging around somewhere.
Yeah.
Because this place is disorganized as all get out.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy, man.
I did get a new mower, and it is nice. It's self-propelled.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah.
So you want to be weaker in the long run? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm very strong.
Yeah.
And the way
so
that I
by mowing with a real man's mower.
Right, Jason,
say goodbye to that strength,
calling
buddy.
my mower gay?
No,
That's crazy, dude.
Just a woman's mower. So you better let your wife mow now that it's easy.
She would mow. She's been going ham, bro. You should see.
My wife was mowing too.
We'll have somebody over for. We'll start having people out for lunch because my wife has been doing some. Just the other day, I walked outside. She was just had a rake in her hands.
Yeah.
And was just like completely redoing the landscaping. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, I started picking up these rocks, and it just kind of escalated.
Yeah.
And now I'm redoing all of the landscaping." So,
that escalated quickly.
yeah, it did escalate quickly.
The 2010s called. They want their joke back.
Yeah.
And the 90s. When was that joke? They
What,
want
that-
their
that
joke
escalated
back. They
quickly?
want their joke back.
Oh, they want their joke
that was
back?
before they escalated quickly.
That had to be.
Was that like the 90s?
I don't know. That was a joke when I was a kid.
Early 2000s.
So and so called.
probably.
They want their thing back.
Yeah. They want their haircut back.
Yeah.
The 70s called. They want their mustache back.
Right. Yeah. That's a cliche at this point.
I felt a little gross saying it.
You should.
I'm sorry.
So keep your stay responsible for yourself. What is something we can say practically here? Because I think we have covered
We
that a little bit.
got the abstract theory.
Right, the
nailed
abstract
in there
theory,
pretty
which
well
is-
is that you change the world by changing yourself.
Yeah, change the world by changing yourself. You cannot exact change in a broad, sweeping way. All right, read the book, The Creature of Jekyll Island, and tell me if you feel strong and empowered.
Jekyll Island.
The Creature of Jekyll Island. It's the story of how the Fed got created, the Federal Reserve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, read that story.
That's far less cool sounding than I thought from the title.
Yeah,
I was imagining Lord of the Flies level of cool, like
no.
island.
No. The Creature of Jekyll
Or
Island.
The Hunt.
Jekyll
no,
Island
the,
is
the most dangerous game. Have you ever read that?
No, but I know what it is.
A short story.
I should read that. Yeah,
It's a good one.
Yeah. The Creature of Jekyll Island is called that because the meeting that occurred where the Fed was first planned and orchestrated, like the kickoff for that, was at a place called Jekyll Island.
Creepy.
Yeah. It's almost like there's a creator somewhere who has a sense of humor.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I had a teacher who thought that she's like, I think God created farts just because they're funny.
Yeah, something like
She's
that.
like, well, look at my little creatures running around down there malfunctioning. Poot, poot, poot.
Dude, yeah, for sure. If you don't think God didn't create something, there's not at least
because it's amusing.
Yeah, because he thinks it's funny. You're retarded. Of course he did that. We laugh. We have senses of humor. That means God has a sense of humor. He thinks things are funny.
Yeah.
So, that is a huge. Speaking about the topic of last week, it is a massive help when hard things happen to think it's funny. That has been such a huge game changer for me to laugh when something bad happens, being like, of course.
Rather than get angry, you mean?
Yeah. And also think,
Yeah.
also see the humor in it and go, God might be doing this to me to bust my balls.
Yeah.
Like he might be like, dork, and like putting his thumb on you. Like,
I don't think God says dork, but I think he would say, yeah, grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
Stop taking yourself so, don't get so frustrated.
Sure.
It's like I tell my kid, I'm about to sneeze.
Nice. Didn't even spike the mic.
Oh, that's amazing.
Professional.
You hear that, Emily? I can sneeze quietly, babe. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
I startle her. There was a Charlie Barron short on YouTube. I saw that it's like Dad on Saturdays, and he gets up and he's making a lot of noise in the house early at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Where's the coffee?" He's like, "Oh, look, right here in the same cabinet it's been in for the last 30 years. How about that?" And then he's like, then it goes, there's a little caption, of course, on the shorts always where it says, "Dad, coffee." It's like, "Ah," and then Dad sneezing. He's like, "Ah, ah." Dad clearing throat. "Ah." Dad groan, that sort of thing. I was like, yeah, that's about accurate. I was like, how many of these things were like me, Emily? She's like, pretty much just the sneeze.
The other day I was walking up behind Emily, my Emily, and
Not spooking my wife.
yeah, I wasn't spooking your wife. I was walking up behind her, and I didn't realize she didn't know I was there. We were outside,
Oh, dear.
and so I just started talking, and it scared her really bad. And
Does she jump or she just freeze?
she jumps, she goes, she cusses, she jumps, and then she cries every time. Every time starts crying.
I
Super
can
hard.
imagine your Emily swearing.
It's very funny.
Sorry, other Emily.
She
That is amusing.
Well, I used to come home at night from the gym, and so it's dark outside. I get back from the gym, and I walk past to go into our house. I have to walk past our kitchen window, and Emily would be sitting there doing dishes, and I would stare at her through the window until she looked up at me. And I did it like 2 or 3 times. I did it to her. It scared the crap out of her, and it's not funny when I say it, but it is funny when it happens, and she always laughs afterwards. So everybody knows this when I say this. It is funny. Every time you scare Emily, she cries. Every time, dude. Without fail, she starts crying. And
Now, why'd you tell me that? That's gonna be. I'm just gonna have to work really hard not to like
scare
go
her.
on an impulse. If there's an opportunity where she has her back turned and I could be like clap right behind her head.
Don't do that.
Really? Yeah. That would.
She would, if you did that to her, she would literally look at you and be like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Like, she would not think it's funny.
Ethan said that
you
would cry.
Yeah.
I was
You were trying to make me cry.
Now that I say it out loud, I feel like a real jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't do that. Maybe that's not as big an impulse as I thought it'd be.
In a couple years, when you've known her for a long time,
Maybe.
then you can do it. But right now,
Now, see, I won't do that because I hate being startled so much.
Really?
I don't find it the least
You
bit
do
amusing.
seem like a kind of guy that would hate to be startled.
I hate the spike in blood pressure that comes from being startled.
Yeah.
I hate jump scares in movies.
Yep.
Hate them.
Yeah.
That's why I'll plug my ears when it gets suspenseful just because I'm like, I don't mind the suspense, but I know they're going to be like, "Vroom!"
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah. I don't like this.
I don't know. Yeah, this is not enjoyable for me.
Why are you guys enjoying this? Yeah.
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 No, I hate that. And Emily startled me on purpose when we were engaged
Yeah.
early on in our relationship. Well, no, not even engaged, I don't think. We were at some hotel as a large group. We went up to see my cousin's wedding.
Okay.
So she said, "Oh, I'll meet you down in the lobby or whatever."
Yeah.
Second floor. She goes down. I leave the room a few minutes later, and she decides to wait around the corner instead of going down to the lobby, so I don't expect anybody. I walk around the corner, and she, like, leaps out and scares the living daylights out of me, and I freeze up. And then it's a lot funnier for Emily to tell this story.
I bet.
Because then I grasped her on the sides of the upper arms, like around the shoulders, and I was like, "Don't ever do that to me again, like in our whole life." Like I was like, that
Oh, dude, I can
will
imagine.
not fly.
I can imagine.
This is
Yeah.
I will leave you. If you make this a routine thing, this is not going to work.
It's so funny thinking about you getting
So stressed out about it.
It's so funny. Oh my goodness, I just can't. Yeah, I cannot imagine a less congealing personality type to get to like and scare you, dude. That's so funny.
A less congealing.
Or just like I don't know. The congealing is not a good word, but like as your personality type just does not fit well with having somebody be like surprise. You just don't. It's so funny.
He doesn't like surprises.
Yeah. That's very funny. Well, here we go. Hour and 10. This is a good, nice, tight episode, I think.
I just imagined walking into a dark room for a surprise birthday party and it lighting up and everyone's screaming, you're like, I'd probably leave. It took us a year to plan it. I don't care.
I don't care. I'm going home.
Give me a piece of cake. I'm leaving.
Yeah. You obviously don't care or love me. Don't care about me or love me because
And
you
don't
would
know me very well.
Yeah, that I would hate this.
Which explains why there's cake instead of pie.
And why you scared me. You all know I don't like that.
Yeah.
I was talking to my little brother's girlfriend. They were in town this weekend, and she has a cousin who is neurodivergent, and she
Is that?
he's just weird.
Oh,
He's just like on the spectrum, and
that's what I figured you meant.
She was telling a story about how weird he was,
Uh-huh.
And then
In front of him, or
No, he wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
It's her cousin, so it's like
Gotcha.
very removed. And so she's telling us that she recently
he's
saw
probably
him
listening.
to this. Probably,
probably.
yeah. He's probably going to hear this.
Talking about you, dude.
Yeah.
Now all our schizophrenic listeners are gonna be like, he's talking about me.
Yeah, I'm going to kill my cousin, my female cousin. I have to kill her. She was telling us that they went to a funeral recently for like her great aunt or something, and he was there, and he walked in the door, and she was like, "Hey, John, how are you doing? Are you doing all right?" And he goes, "Well, I recently found out I'm probably autistic." So, and then just walked away.
And this was surprising, John?
Well, I recently found out I'm probably autistic, and then just walking away is awesome.
That defines it
That is awesome.
perfectly.
Yes.
You're like, and diagnosis confirmed, John.
Yeah, I got it.
You do!
Not probably, John. We honestly didn't even have to run that test,
The
bud.
poor man, yeah.
Yeah.
Ask anybody.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we don't hate you. I'm sorry, I guess.
Yeah. You'll be all right. There's never been a greater. There's probably,
You'll
the
be
best
way
time
better
in
at
history
some other... Yeah, right.
to be autistic.
You don't have to eat paint and be a crazy artist.
Yeah, you can just.
There's
be
other avenues.
Or be Stonewall Jackson, dude. Do you know about Stonewall Jackson?
Not
This is
much,
Shane
except that
Gillis?
he was a fantastic
Strategist. Yeah. This is a Shane Gillis joke, so I don't want to rep like this is my joke, but he definitely just had autism. Like if you read about him, like if you read his biographies and stuff, read about him, he definitely was autistic.
Yeah.
He got told to stand at attention one time, like when he was a cadet.
Yeah.
And he just stood there at attention for 24 hours. And the officer came back through, like on his way back to work, and saw him and was like, "Dude, what are you doing here?" And he was like, "You didn't tell me at ease." And he was like, "Get out of here. You're insane. Like, what are you doing?"
No kidding.
Yeah, Stonewall Jackson was definitely autistic.
He's something.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So there we go. Now we're at 1:12. 1 hour 12 minutes.
I think that'll do it.
I think that'll
Did
do
we
it.
get to a practical
Oh no, we
application?
didn't. Yeah, we can do that in 2 minutes.
Abstract and jokes.
Yeah.
So, practical way that you can mature and change your surroundings.
Yeah,
right?
you can just pay attention to your life. What does a well-ordered Christian man's life look like? Because that's what we're talking about here.
I think it starts with spiritual leadership in the home.
Yeah.
If you are not having a regular devotion with your spouse and prayer life, if you're not having a regular Bible reading devotion and prayer with your spouse and or children, if you have children of an age where they can sit and listen for any period of time, or at least just be present,
Yeah.
then I think that's I think that would be item number one that you need to get established.
Yeah.
If you do not have the habit of doing it multiple times a week, I would say shooting for every single day. We shoot, in my household, I shoot for every single day with the exception of Sunday, since we're already going and getting our spiritual leadership there. So perhaps that's a cop-out on my part. I'm a little bit convicted about it. And just because we go to church doesn't mean that I should be like, I don't have to read today.
Yeah.
It's like, that to me, I feel like I'm being a little lazy there.
Okay.
But it doesn't happen every day because life happens.
Yeah.
And I'm imperfect. But that's the goal that I shoot for, is to have some sort of Bible reading or singing or both. So sometimes on days where the kids are just exhausted and it's late, I got off work late, the kids have been terrible all day. My wife is a train wreck,
Right.
and I'm wiped out, tired. Like, if we're all just blah,
Yeah.
it might be like, we're going to sing a couple verses of a hymn,
Yeah.
or I'm just going to pray.
Right.
But there is some dedication of the day to God. There is some getting into his word. There is a moment of reverence, of prayer, at a minimum. And that is what I would shoot for as the practical part. And if you're a single guy, if you get that established now, it will naturally flow into your life when you are married, when you do have the woman you want. And if you are getting in the Word and reading the Bible, reading commentaries on books, because there's a lot of stuff in there. You know, the gospel message is easy to understand, but there's a lot to the Bible beyond the simple gospel message. And if you just stop there, you shouldn't stop there.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go, I know why Jesus died, therefore I no longer have to read the Bible or study it at all.
Yeah.
Keep learning more. And I should say, if you don't want to learn more, force yourself to. And for me, the more I've gotten into it, the more excited I actually get about it. And the more times I've reread a passage, I get something different out of it each time, because I'll be at a different place in life by the time I come back to that book of the Bible.
Yeah.
And there's some books of the Bible I've hardly touched.
Yeah.
And I'm not very familiar with at all. And so it's like, well, at a certain point, you're like, well, I've kind of read these a lot lately. What should I read next? For us, when we moved from Oregon to Texas here, and I didn't work for 4 or 5 months, that was the time when we established our daily devotion. And that was the first time. So that was 2.5 years ago. We've been married for almost 9 years. So it'd been a while. We did not have a regular devotion because my schedule was a rotating schedule and very, very difficult. The kids would be asleep when I left and when I got home for 2 or 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
And so it was impossible for me to have a devotion then. So I had a hard time getting in the habit. My wife would have to do it while I was away, and then I would take over and do it on the days off, and it's very hard to get in a rhythm there. So my heart goes out to anyone out there dealing with shift work.
Right.
I would say, I was looking to get out of it, for that being one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Try and find work that is... How important is your family's spiritual life compared to your career? And are you able to do something else that will pay the bills while raising your children better?
Right.
I was listening to Stories of Soul Food yesterday.
Yeah.
And Andy Wilson was talking about being willing to, like, crawl over broken glass, as it were, to get your kids a good Christian education.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not educating your kids in the Word and getting them a good education and keeping them out of public schools where they're going to be exposed to all sorts of toxic stuff, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Right.
Like, what are you raising children? What are you having children for if you're just going to hand them over to Molech to be sacrificed?
Right. Certainly. Certainly.
Like, go ahead and put them on the idol, light them on fire.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a great tip, or that's a great practical thing you can do. And it doesn't have to be crazy, man. I mean, my daughter's
super simple.
Yeah. My daughter isn't 2 yet. But I'm a real big believer in talking to little infants like that, to talking to kids like that, as if they can understand you.
Because as soon as they'll start understanding you before you realize that they can understand.
And that helps. Like, people talk to Abigail all the time, and the number one thing people say to me about Abigail is how smart she is.
Yeah.
And that's because I never, ever, ever, I put the thought out of my mind, she cannot understand what I'm saying right now. I talk to her.
Except maybe when it comes to where it might concern discipline.
I just won't discipline her for things.
That's what I mean. You're like,
yes,
you could,
yeah. But I will give her coaching.
Yeah.
At a level that I would give anybody coaching, any person. And I go, "Do you understand?" And she'll go, "Yes, sir." She's saying, "Yes, sir." So she'll go, "Yes, sir."
That's adorable.
Yeah. But now when I get the Bible out, so we have breakfast together, because my schedule in the evening can sometimes be a little hectic with working out and training and stuff, but we can always have breakfast together. So we have breakfast together. And sometimes in the morning, I'll go, "Okay, it's time to pray." And she'll grab my wife's hand and grab my hand, and I'll grab my wife's hand, and then I'll read the Lord's Prayer, and then we'll go amen, and she'll go amen, and but sometimes I'll get out the Bible and I'll read a commandment, one of the 10 commandments. I'll read a commandment to her, and then just talk about it for a minute or two.
Yeah.
And whenever I get the Bible out, she points at it and goes, Bible, Dad, Bible.
Yeah.
And I go, yep, that's my Bible. And I lay it down. By the way, hot tip, Reformation Heritage Books, their King James Study Bible. First of all, it's beautiful. Secondly, phenomenal. Such a fantastic study Bible. The King James Study Bible from Reformation Heritage.
Reformation Heritage, huh?
Yeah.
I've got one, but I'm not terribly pleased with the notes in it for the
Okay.
King James.
Yeah. You've got the Reformation Heritage?
No.
Oh, you just got a study Bible?
I got a study Bible of the King James because the King James is not a copyrighted.
Right.
It's not owned by the translation is not owned by anybody.
Right.
All the other ones like ESV and whatnot are owned by certain people.
Yeah.
Or certain companies, so only certain ones can turn out a study guide,
Right.
study Bible with those,
Yeah.
which is very weird. I don't like that at all.
That's
I understand
really
that they
not
put
good.
all the work into translating it, which is incredibly expensive and time consuming. So naturally they would hold a copyright to it, but it still seems,
Yeah.
and it's not a copyright on the Word of God necessarily. It's just that translation of the Word of God.
Right.
I still don't really like it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
But King James, the Reformation Heritage King James Study Bible is really, really good. I like it a lot.
Reformation Study Bible
Reformation
for the
Heritage.
ESV is what we have.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
No, just the Reformation. It's by Ligonier.
Okay.
So it's
Cool.
R.C. Sproul's
Yeah.
study Bible.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So that's what I do, and it's like literally like 2 or 3 minutes, just because my daughter's so young.
And those notes are incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Like you read a passage and it helps explain some of the maybe cultural things of that time, some of the words that were translated a certain way and said, well, it might also mean this. The translation is a little tricky.
Yeah.
So phrases in the Bible that you're like, I don't have any idea what are they getting at?
Yeah.
This was lost in translation.
Yeah.
And the notes might actually help you on that. So
Right.
put out the extra money, get yourself a good, solid study Bible with a good reputation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be complicated, and I think that's huge. I think that's one of the biggest things you can do practically is get a healthy study of the Word, or sing a hymn, read a psalm. That's another thing that I love to do with Abigail, because psalms are poetry.
They love songs too.
Yeah.
Our kids sing hymns around because that's what they mostly hear.
Yeah,
It's great.
Yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
so beautiful to hear your children singing hymns.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I bet. Yeah, so I read psalms to her.
Sometimes they do it in the grocery store, Emily
Yeah.
says. They'll be like singing hymns in the aisle in the grocery store.
It's funny. Hey,
You talk about wanting to be called out for your faith and being like, being salt and light, your children like, praise God from whom all blessings flow in the meat aisle, the produce aisle.
yeah. I mean, we're spreading the culture.
It'll turn
baby.
some heads.
Yeah, that'll get your attention. I would say, the Psalms thing. Because Psalms are poetry, I believe that there's, obviously throughout the entire Scripture, there's transcendent meaning behind the words that's like deeper than the literal whatever the sentence is saying. And hearing that, I think, transforms you in general. But I think because it's poetry, you don't have to necessarily understand the poem to have some sort of something get communicated to you. And so I'll read Psalms to Abigail because I do believe that there's something happening when she's hearing the poetry. Like there's something inside of poetry and song that transcends your ability to read it and go, oh, this is what this means. This is what they mean when they say that. Like there's something else happening, something supernatural, something spiritual occurring. And that's a big part of the reason why music and song and poetry
So influential.
is such an influential and such an important part of the Christian life.
That's why our garbage culture has garbage music.
Right, exactly. It's a huge, huge deal.
Thumping, soulless.
Yes, thumping and soulless. My practical thing, I would say, is get plugged in at a church. That would be my thing that I would say is equally as big as being a spiritual leader in your house. And this one doesn't require you to have anybody to lead spiritually. You ought to now. Jason here knows firsthand. I am not a perfect church attendance person. There are lots of Sundays that we miss. We're there way more often than we're not, but it's a flaw of mine that I'm working on. But I'm saying you don't have to. My primary friend group now at this point is our crew, is our church crew. Yeah,
cool.
And I have established. I think we've established a pretty good community here, and I've done so without perfect church attendance. You can find a group of dudes who will help you more than hold you back at a church. If you're single, a church is a phenomenal place to meet a woman. And for 2,000 years of human history, the church, or European history at least, the church was where everybody met. It was your social group. It was the community. Was your church.
Yeah. Which is a little bit of a problem with it being a cultural norm without heart change, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's the South's problem.
Yeah.
Is having a nominal Christianity where everyone thinks they're saved and has no heart change during the rest of the week. They just go because that's what you do.
Yeah, they put Jesus in a box, as Wilson has said in that interview. They put Jesus in this little Sunday box where they go.
He belongs here on Sunday mornings.
Yeah. And then I go to work,
just
and
right before I get to go and watch football.
Right. Exactly. And we're going to leave. We got to make sure we leave.
Yeah, we're
on time. The Cowboys kick off at noon, so we got to get out of here quick.
We got to pick up ice on the way home.
Yeah, we got to pick up ice and the cold ones. So you do need to get plugged in at a church, and it doesn't have to be an intimidating thing. Is the point I'm trying to make? Is you don't have to have perfect attendance. People in general will approach you. It's not an intimidating, scary thing. They will approach you. They'll be very friendly. They'll be very nice. You don't have to talk to anybody for a while. Just go to church. Just go. Sit in the pews. You can go to a social event if you want. You don't have to. But just at least get your body in the building. And just start there. Just start there. Get your body in the building once a month if that's all you can manage.
And if you're terrified of people, sit in the back and duck out early.
Yeah, it's
for starters.
Yeah,
until
just
you
for
acclimate.
Starters. Yeah,
get used to the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Dip your toe in.
Yeah, and I
go to an evening service. If there's an evening service, they're less crowded. They're more casual.
Yeah. Yeah, less crowded, more casual. I talk to people for a living all day, every day, and I handle people's problems. That's what I'm doing.
Not a problem for Ethan to be in a crowd or with people.
Yeah, not a problem. But come Sunday, usually I am a little peopled out. Even for me.
I gotcha.
Even for me. On Sunday, I'm a little peopled out. I do, and I get a lot of energy from social interaction. Like my battery gets filled back up.
Right.
And even
You're
then.
more an extrovert.
Yeah, and even then, like.
See, I hated visiting churches as a kid. When we were church hunting,
yeah.
I dreaded having some other kid come up to me and be like, "Hey, what do you do?" And like talk to me. I was like, "Do not talk to me."
Right.
I do not want to be here.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Ethan's like, knew that already.
Yeah, didn't even need to tell that. Yeah.
Maybe even the listener knows.
So go to church. Yeah, go to church. Go to church. Go to church as often as you can, and if as often as you can manage it is once a month, then that's fine, man. Just get in there. And things will start to change for you. The church is not one of the things that I really, 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 really want to see people start to believe is that these things matter. Going to church actually has an effect on your life. It does. There's a reason why God insists and dictates to us that we must do it.
Seasons and rhythm and rest are integral to the way the entire universe was created.
Yeah.
Everything has a pattern. Everything has a period of rest, dormancy.
Yes.
God was the ultimate leader in resting by not creating on the seventh day.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need a day of rest.
Yeah, certainly.
God led by example. Not that God was tired. He just took that time off. It was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to create this day. I will do it all in 6 days. Seventh day is for rest.
Yeah.
So we are biologically programmed to be able to work hard for 6 days and then
Right.
be like, I'm going to take a big old nap on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon nap is that's goated. So yeah, that's my thing is go to church and that is create armor, man. Create armor. Be a link. Be a link in the chain. If you, I know it seems like it can't be true, or that it's such a small thing that there's no way it's going to have an influence on the world, the greater world around you. But it's all you can do is these things we're talking about. You cannot, unless you're going to get a and politician, you're not going to change anything. And even then, you're probably
not changing anything.
Yeah, you're not changing anything. They're going to find some other politician.
They will plug in some other schmuck
Yeah.
in his place.
Now, I will say, if you'd probably change a couple things. A couple things would probably change, and you probably kicking around New York somewhere. So, one of the schizophrenic guys.
You're going to have to edit this part out. I am not part of this. No, sir.
I'll take it out.
They will find my family.
I'll take it out.
I'm going to listen to this one and be like, he didn't take it out.
I'll take it out. No. I'll take it out.
Okay.
I edit stuff out.
All right.
I might just bleep instead. I think editing it in bleeps is really funny. Just a really long and then hearing you be like, you got to take this out. That's got to be pretty funny. So
Okay, fine.
I might do that if I'm feeling up to it. I don't know. You got to. It's not easy to make those, so you got to. I might just take it out.
Okay.
You're not gonna affect. You're not gonna Larry Fink. All right, we all know that. So
You just made more work for yourself. Now you get 2 spots.
the only thing you can do is manage your own life, and the more people we get managing their lives correctly and orienting their lives correctly, the better the world will be. And once you manage your life in such a way that everything's going gangbusters for you and everything's organized, then you at some point will have the ability to step out of your life and affect change in other people's lives. But
it might also very well never be going gangbusters for you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So strap in for the long haul. I keep on going. There's like Emily and I for a while we're like, well, when we're less busy,
yeah.
then ...
Yeah.
And we've only experienced growth in business.
Yeah.
There have been maybe brief respites.
Yeah.
Deliberate respites. Like, we're going to take a little vacation. But then right back to it and
Right.
busier than ever.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe how many pokers we have in the fire.
Yeah.
Like right now. Yeah. Trying to get research done so I understand electric fencing to order the materials and know how much of it out there. Get meat chickens processed started on Monday
Yeah.
by myself because Emily will have to watch the baby.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And chickens getting too big in the brooder. They need space out in the other coop, so there's way too much to do.
Yeah. There's always something, man. There's always something. And
There's a reason there's no kitchen sink in here yet. There's a reason why my wife does dishes in the bathtub. Because we haven't had time.
I haven't had time to get it done. Yeah. And so there's always going to be something.
But don't be discouraged, is my point.
Yeah. Don't be discouraged because you will.
It's all good things, and if we're doing it to the glory of God, and you're growing in your ability to get more done, you're still getting more done.
Yeah. Yeah, and you will, maybe Jason can attest to this. I've experienced it personally in my life. The times when I was the most distressed, the most anxious, the most miserable was when I had the least amount of stuff to do.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
There are sometimes when I do reach a peak sometimes, and I'm just like,
Yeah, there's a
why?
balance. Yeah.
But for the most part, I would far rather have too much to do than not enough.
Yeah.
Because now I'm trained by God, by life, to be busier, and I feel anxious if I'm not. I'm
Right.
like, what am I doing?
Right. Yeah, that was something I really have dealt with the past 2 weeks. I haven't had a lot to do at work.
Yeah.
So my work
Okay.
days have been really, really, really lackluster. And
Way more video games.
I try to avoid it. I try to.
Are you?
Yeah, I
Cutting
try. I
back
try
on
to. I try to write is what I'm trying to do.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I try to write.
See, look at that. Fill your little spots.
Yeah,
Like me with my
downtown.
downtime in the paramedic in the ambulance. When I was able to read a book, when I forced myself to read the book and pick it up, which is more difficult than pulling out the screen and going, I'll just veg on
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts for a while.
Yeah, which happens a
Feel
lot
far
for my 2
better
weeks.
about it.
Don't let me rep like I'm getting stuff. Like I'm
Yeah, it's really hard to pick up the pencil, pick up the book,
yeah.
and improve yourself when you go, yeah, just a little bit, just 1 or 2 videos.
Yeah.
It's never 1 or 2 videos.
No, it's not. No,
Can't
it's
eat just one.
not. No, you can't just. I
Brought
used
to you by Lay's.
I used to leave Magic the
not a
Gathering.
sponsor.
One day, one day, the
Lay's
culture
will
will have
sponsor.
changed so much that
That
Lay's
will be begging us.
begging.
Please work hard.
Yeah, please.
We're like, no, you're full of trans fats.
Yeah, and motor oil. You fry your freaking chips in vegetable oils, which is processed slop, Zog slop. The
We're way over.
Yeah,
Our
we're way
practical
over.
tips are
yeah,
dragging
yeah,
into
yeah.
Lay's.
All right, guys. Those are your practical tips.
Establish daily devotion.
Yeah.
Shoot for daily devotion
Yeah.
in your own life when you're single and carrying on into. And shoot for church attendance of any kind you can manage. And pray that God would increase your desire for it.
Yeah.
You will, if God will give you good things if you pray for them. If you ask God for wisdom, God will give you wisdom. If you ask for patience, God will give you patience. If you ask for a desire, say, God, I hate reading your word.
Right.
Say, God, I hate reading the Bible. It's so boring.
Yeah.
It kills me.
Yeah.
God, please help me to at least tolerate reading the Bible.
Yeah.
If that's the only prayer you can pray right now, pray that and work your way up from there.
Yeah. I've been praying every day for 2 weeks for faith.
Yeah.
Just because I don't believe enough. Because I just have too much doubt. So I've just been praying, Lord, just
Yeah.
give me faith.
Change this about me.
Yeah.
Change this part of the old man, this part of my sinful self.
Yeah.
Just change me. If
Yeah.
you don't if you don't necessarily believe that God's out there, say, God, reveal yourself to me, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, help me to believe
Yeah.
if you're there.
And that's that. I'll say this and we'll wrap it up. That's the last. I really, really want to emphasize that this is all you can do, and this is what you're here to do. This is the thing that you can do to exact change in the world around you. Is organize your own life.
Be a little leader.
Be a little leader. Be a little leader in your life, in the environment that God gave you in the environment that God gave you to the things that He gave you responsibility. Oh my goodness, whatever He gave you, be responsible for it. Take care of the people and the things that God put in your life to do. And as you do that, if you can find other guys, build communities that are guys that are like-minded. We've done that here. Jason and I have a group. There's a. I'll say this, and if I get worried about it being, I'll say this, and I'm worried about somebody more industrious stealing my idea and taking it, but I'll take it out if I get nervous. There's a one of the villains that I'm writing right now is a gigantic amorphous dragon,
Okay.
and he has a shadow that's bigger than it should be, and so he'll reach out when he gets introduced into the book. He reaches out, his army comes, they're fighting, the good army is fighting the bad army, and he reaches his arms out over the battlefield, and it casts the shadow over everything, and the shadow begins to expand in every direction, and the whatever it touches changes and becomes warped, and then the men that are inside the shadow get stricken with terror and fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if they break and turn and run away, they collapse and fall and are warped and changed into this creature that's bound to his will. But if they stand, they remain human. If they don't give in to their fear, they remain human.
Okay.
And that's how he collects
Right.
soldiers to build his
Right.
armies.
That's how he expands.
Yeah. And that's you and your boys standing shoulder to shoulder. Like if you do not give in, then you get to stay human. But if you give up, if you turn and run, if you do not have the will to develop patterns that are good in your life, like going to church and having daily devotions with yourself or your family, if you do not do those things, if you don't develop that will, then you will be warped and you will be turned against the soldiers of God, and you will become our enemies. And so you ought to, and that is what happened to these people. That is what happened to the left. That is what happened to people who are totally ingratiated in secularism. It is fear. They turned and looked away, and they tried to run. And in exchange for that, they were warped and contorted and turned into little creatures that are now our enemies. You get to decide if that's going to be you. And the more of them that there are, the harder it is for us to conquer, but the more of us there are, that obviously is inversed. And I'll tell you what, right now, brother, we're gonna conquer. We're gonna win.
Well, the battle's already won.
Yeah, the battle is already won. So you can decide which side of history.
We're fighting, but we know what the end result will be, even if we die.
Yeah, and so you get to decide which side of history you're going to be on. And so you can cast your vote for all of history. Which way do you want history to go? The way you cast your vote for that is by either turning and running and submitting to your own fear and becoming warped, or standing and fighting with your boys. So that's that. That's what we got. How do you feel? Feel good?
Yeah.
All right. Guys, we love you. We are praying for you. I just prayed yesterday for the listeners. Go to church, man. Find a woman. Have as many kids as you can. As many kids as God has planned for you. Have that many. Work out your salvation with much fear and trembling. What is Paul's quote? Work out your own salvation with
fear and trembling?
Yeah, is that the quote? I know there's definitely.
That is a quote.
I know that's definitely, trembling is definitely in there. I don't know what the other word is.
Yeah,
but
with fear and trembling?
Yeah, is that what it is?
That's right.
Yeah, work out your own salvation with much fear and trembling. Be humble. Get things done. We love you guys. See ya.